It all began with a single napkin, for words scrawled in shaky handwriting, slipped under a glass of water, and hidden beneath a folded linen. They spit in your food. For billionaire CEO Malcolm Davis, those words hit harder than a lawsuit or a market crash. A man who had survived corporate betrayals and political storms now sat frozen in a Charleston restaurant, staring at a napkin like it was a live wire. He hadn't come here tonight for a meal. He had come undercover, wearing a hoodie and old sneakers, determined to find out if the whispers he'd heard about one of his own restaurants were true. An anonymous letter had warned him that the Cradle, a high-end dining spot he secretly owned, was mistreating black customers and employees. Malcolm could have sent lawyers or a PR team. Instead, he wanted the truth unfiltered. From the moment he walked in, he saw it. The hostess looked him up and down with a forced smile, scanned his hoodie like it was a threat, and sat him by the swinging kitchen doors, a seat no one else wanted. 10 minutes passed before anyone acknowledged him. Around the room, wealthy white diners laughed under chandeliers, servers bending over backwards to please them, while the black staff hustled in silence. It wasn't broken. It was working exactly as it was designed to. Naomi Brooks was the waitress assigned to his table. At 25, she carried herself with the quiet grace of someone who had been through more than her share of hard days. Once, she had dreamed of becoming a civil rights lawyer. She had even made it halfway through law school before her mother's cancer diagnosis forced her to quit, move back home, and take the first job she could find. Now she worked here, the only black waitress on staff, given the worst shifts and blamed for mistakes that weren't hers. She wore her smile like armor, but armor wears thin. Something about the man in the hoodie caught her eye. He didn't look like the others. He didn't order with arrogance. He looked at her, really looked like she wasn't invisible. That was enough for her to risk everything. When he ordered the Presidential Prime, a $700 Wagyu steak meant for hedge fund managers and politicians, Naomi's stomach tightened. She knew the rules. Management demanded a credit card for customers who looked questionable before the kitchen would even touch it.
She didn't ask.
She keyed in the order like it was normal, taking responsibility herself. But in the kitchen, she saw something that made her blood run cold. Chef Rick, arrogant and smirking, leaned over the sizzling steak and spit directly onto it before flipping it as if it were routine. The sous chef chuckled. It wasn't an accident. It wasn't the first time. It was deliberate humiliation. Naomi's hands shook as she grabbed a fresh napkin, pulled out her pen, and wrote 4 words. They spit in your food. Then, with trembling fingers, she added more. This place is not safe. Ask for the cameras. She folded it, slipped it beneath his plate, and prayed he would read it. Malcolm unfolded the napkin, jaw tightening, but face unreadable. It wasn't the spit that rattled him. It was that phrase, this place is not safe. That meant culture, not a single act.
He didn't eat.
He didn't argue. He didn't even call Naomi back. He simply slipped the napkin into his hoodie pocket, pushed the steak aside, and made one quiet phone call to his security team in New York. By the time he left the restaurant that night, raw kitchen footage had been downloaded and secured. What he saw later confirmed everything. Rick spitting on his steak, the sous chef laughing, a plate dropped on the floor and thrown back on the grill before being served to a black couple. Jokes muttered like poison. That's what you get for acting like you belong here. It wasn't one bad apple. It was a system, and Malcolm wasn't about to let it slide. The next morning, Naomi showed up to work sick with dread. Every step felt heavier. Maybe someone had seen her slip the napkin. Maybe she would be fired. When she was called to the manager's office, her heart sank. She braced for shouting, for humiliation, maybe even for security to escort her out. Instead, when she opened the door, she froze. Sitting there, in the same hoodie from last night, was Malcolm Davis. Naomi Brooks, he said, his voice calm, steady. She stammered. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have. You should have, he interrupted. And you did. Her voice cracked. Am I being fired? He shook his head. Not by me. She blinked. Who are you? I own this place, he said quietly. The building, the brand, the staff.
They all answer to me.
Her knees nearly buckled. I saw the footage, Malcolm continued. I know what's been happening here. And now, I need your help. My help, she whispered. You can walk away, and I'll make sure you're taken care of. Scholarship, a new job, whatever you need. Or, you can stay. Help me rebuild this place from the ground up as director of ethics and culture. Naomi's breath caught. Yesterday, she was a waitress. Today, she was being asked to reshape the soul of a company. You'd really trust me with that? Malcolm nodded. I already did.
You just didn't know it yet.
Within 24 hours, the cradle wasn't a restaurant anymore. It was a crime scene in designer clothes. Federal agents walked through the front doors during the lunch rush, past startled diners in pearls and pressed suits. Chef Rick was handcuffed in his stained apron. The sous chef followed. Then Mr. Clay, the manager. All three were let out in silence as cameras flashed. Outside, Malcolm stepped to a podium. He didn't read from a script. He didn't bring PR spin. He spoke with quiet fire. This wasn't one bad apple. It was a poison tree. And today, we're cutting it down. He gestured to Naomi, standing at his side, back straight, eyes fierce. This woman showed more integrity in one night than most executives do in a lifetime. She is the reason this truth came to light. She is the reason this place has a future. The applause wasn't polite. It was real. 2 weeks later, the portraits of Confederate generals were gone, the uniforms redesigned, the staff retrained. And in the office that once belonged to the corrupt manager, Naomi now sat at her desk, director of ethics and culture, finishing her law degree part-time with Malcolm's support. Her first meeting wasn't in a boardroom. It was in a circle of chairs on the dining floor. No titles, no scripts, just truth. She told the staff what she saw, why silence had allowed it, and how things would never go back. Some left. Most stayed. Slowly, the cradle transformed, not just into a restaurant, but into a statement. Naomi was no longer serving tables. She was serving justice. And Malcolm, for all his billions, the most valuable investment he ever made was in a folded napkin and the courage of a waitress who refused to stay silent. Because sometimes revolutions don't begin with protests or speeches. Sometimes they begin with a few desperate words written in ink, passed to the right person at the right time. Naomi proved that integrity still matters. Malcolm proved that true leadership isn't about being the smartest in the room, but about recognizing courage when it stands in front of you. And if you've ever wondered whether one small act of bravery can change the world, just remember Naomi's story, because she proved it can.